of the Katzie, Kwantlen, Masqui, and Semiahmoo First Nations. And just before I introduce everyone and council, I'd just like you to know tonight we're wearing our orange shirts. And it's a day to honor the Indigenous children who were sent away to residential schools in Canada. This day is on September 30th. And I encourage everyone to take a few moments to learn more about the history of residential schools, as well as the culture and traditions of our local Indigenous people. So I'm Mayor Val Vandenbroek, and with me this afternoon, I have Councillor Rudy Stortaboom, Councillor Rosemary Wallace, Councillor Gail Martin, Councillor Terry James, Councillor Nathan Bahal, and Councillor Paul Albrecht. And for staff with us here this afternoon, I have Darren Light, our Director of Corporate Services, Kelly Kenny, our Corporate Officer, Francis Chung, our Chief Administrative Officer. We also have Rick Baumhoff, who's our Director of Engineering, Parks, and Environment. And I don't know if I'm missing, I believe Carl Johansson is here, our Director of Development Services. There he is. Sorry, folks, it's not all on the same screen at the same time. And Kim Hilton, our Director of Recreation, Culture, and Community Services. So thank you all for being here. So we are going to move into the adoption of the September 28th, 2020 regular agenda. And before we adopt the agenda, I have some proposed changes to the agenda as follows. We did receive a request from the Eureka Temple Society to address council regarding their appeal for a permissive tax exemption. And I would like to also remove item 4B, the FCM update, as I've only received the board report. I have not received the council report yet. So I was hoping to have it by now, but unfortunately, so hopefully next Monday we'll have that update. And I would like to move that the agenda be adopted as amended by removing item 4B, FCM update, and adding Eureka Temple Society as item 3B. Seconder on that. Councillor Stortaboom, Councillor Pahal, and are there any other further additions or changes to the agenda? I'm just looking, I don't see any. All right, so all those in favor? Any opposed? And that carries. Regular meeting minutes from September 14th, 2020, that the minutes of the regular meeting held on September 14th, 2020 be adopted as circulated. Mover and a seconder. Councillor Stortaboom, Councillor Wallace, are there any corrections to that agenda?
Could I ask a question?
Sure.
It's Gail. I can't see anybody's picture on my screen, but yeah, I'd just like to inquire as to why the mayor's report was not included in the agenda, not even mentioned, or in the minutes, pardon me.
Oh. I guess I can direct that to staff for clarification.
Well, to Kelly.
Sorry, Madam Mayor, I'm just having a look at the minutes here. So are we saying that I completely missed the mayor's report?
No, the statement that was made under the mayor's gala.
The mayor's gala. We don't include statements. It's motions only. Is that what you were asking about, what the statement that the mayor read out?
No, I thought it would be part of public record. There's not even a mention of it.
No, we don't. Oh, sorry, we don't usually say so-and-so spoke to this, only if there was a question that staff responded to. If that's something that council wants me to include, I can say that the mayor made a statement if you think that would be more representative of what happened at the meeting.
Well, I think that actually the whole statement should be included as part of the public record.
Are you moving that as a correction to the minutes?
Sure, I'll move it, see what happens.
Councillor Albrecht, is that a second? Yep. Okay, any discussion on this?
How long is that statement again?
Does it matter?
Matters to me.
I guess what I'm suggesting is, given that it was a written statement, the written statement can just be attached to the minutes. Nobody has to type out what it says.
Okay.
Any other comments? Okay, I'll call the vote. All those in favor? Any opposed? I don't see any opposition, so that carries. Okay, so amendment to that.
Oh,
All right,
David.
Councillor Wallace.
Thank you. So in stating what Kelly just said in regards to statements not being included in the minutes, how does this change things for the future? Because now that we're adding this statement to the minutes, is it something, yeah, I just want to know, in moving to the future, what does this look like? I guess that would be a
Staff clarification.
staff clarification, maybe through Kelly, Kenny.
Yes, Madam Mayor, through to Councillor Wallace. There is a policy on what we include in the minutes, and you know, over the years, there's been a bit of leeway given for certain, you know, types of things. And we've added things like clarification. If there was a question of staff from a member of council, we've included that. But we just have to be mindful of not being preferential in one way and then not another. So that's the part that's we want to be mindful of when we do minutes, is that we're not changing it to do it one way, one meeting, and then another way, another meeting. So that's just how staff have tried to continue with how we process minutes.
So then it'll be just every time somebody thinks that a statement should be included, they can raise that to council then.
I would think that would be where it would be brought up under any corrections to the minutes. If there's felt that they weren't accurately capturing the sense of the meeting, then it would be a majority vote of council to change that, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, anyone else? So call the vote on the amended meeting minutes. All those in favor? Any opposed? Carries. Special pre-closed meeting minutes from September 14th, 2020, that the minutes of the special pre-closed meeting held on September 14th, 2020 be adopted as circulated. Any corrections? I got Councillor Sturdivant and Pahal as first and seconders. Seeing no corrections, call the vote. All those in favor? Any opposed? Okay, that carries. All right, so we just have to have a little patience with this next part because we've never really done external delegates. So I believe up first we have Jim Helements, Executive Director of the Langley Food Bank.
Hi,
Hello.
shall I just go ahead?
Yes, please, sorry.
Thank you, Mayor and Council, for allowing me as the Executive Director of the Langley Food Bank to come and speak to you. It is an honor. As you may not know, the Langley Food Bank is a Christian ministry established by volunteers from Langley churches for neighbors in our community who may need some help and encouragement. These neighbors we help are not just the churches. We presently assist anyone who is a Langley resident and qualifies financially. We currently have registered Muslims, Buddhists, atheists, agnostics, Christians, and those who have alternative lifestyles. No one gets turned away because of their religion, beliefs, ethnicity, or sexual preference. All are welcome to get food and support, no matter if they come from a house, an apartment, a condo, or a modified shipping container that has electricity hooked up to it. And that is true. Pretty crazy. On our website, it says we service 671 family units, but with COVID, that number has skyrocketed. Since March 1st, we have added 152 new family units. 105 of those are constant, and the other ones are off and on because of COVID. Also, just this week, I got a call from the Lookout Society about signing up most of the 52 clients who are presently staying at the Great Canadian Value Inn on Glover. I expect there will be more. I believe this lady also is in charge of 2 other hotels that have been taken over by the government. Also, because of COVID, we have developed a delivery service, which we presently have volunteers delivering to over 27 family units each week. With some of the government grants possibly ending, the numbers are sure to increase exponentially. With the pandemic upon us now, we have endeavored to stay open during the whole time so far. We have gone to 3 tents out front and food out front in our parking lot. Our volunteers all wear masks and shields and gloves. We practice social distancing with the clients and even take the temperatures of the staff and the volunteers daily. I've been told we are the only food bank in the Metro Vancouver area that does not get a permissive tax exemption, and I'm asking you to reconsider and grant us one for 2021. We believe with this action on our behalf, we'll be able to even more help the Langley residents to feed themselves and their families. We believe a fed resident and a family makes for happier citizens and thus more productive in society. And the slogan of the City of Langley, the place to be, will be true even more for everyone, no matter what financial position they're presently in. We want to make sure one basic need is met, that everybody gets food. So please grant us this exemption so we can put the savings we would get from our rent into food for your people that you govern. Thank you once again for listening to our petition, and bless you. I have a lady who is willing to give a short testimony. Is that possible? Her name is Jean.
Sorry,
Madam
I was on.
Mayor? Madam
Sorry,
Mayor?
go ahead, Kelly.
Under our delegation policy, if there's someone that wishes to speak who has not met the requirements of the delegation application, a unanimous vote of council is required to have them speak.
Okay. So then we need to vote on it to allow mover and a seconder. I see Nathan and Rosemary. I'll call the vote. All those in favor? I'm in favor. Is that unanimous? Paul, and I don't see Gail. I need confirmation that we have unanimous, otherwise we can't allow her to speak. So Terry is a yes. Paul, is that a yes? And Gail, please. Any opposed? Okay, seeing none, that carries. So yes, go ahead.
Hi, my name's Jean. I hope everybody can hear me.
Yes, Jean, thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for allowing me to speak on behalf of the Langley Food Bank. I like just to say a short, brief comment, and coming from the other end of going to the food bank for the last 4 years approximately, it does help the community a great deal, being on low income, and it would be nice if they can get a lot more help. And I know that they do get some, but there's, like Jim says, there's a lot of people that do need it. And I'm a double amputee, and being on low income, it's very difficult. And there's a lot, I lost my job because I lost my 2 limbs, and it's difficult being on low income. And I wouldn't know what to do without the food bank that we have out here in Langley. I do appreciate that. I won't take too much of your time. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Ms. Moulton, for sharing your story.
Thank you. I do appreciate, Mayor. I do appreciate that. Thank you again.
Thank you.
So if I have any time left, I'd like to read one more letter, if that's okay.
Sure.
Okay. September 20, to whom it may concern, I'm a Langley Food Bank client. Over the years, there has been changes, all for the better, to help get food to people in need in our community. I've always received friendly, honest, and well-mannered service. Within the 6 bags I am given contains all the food groups. Everything is fresh and enough food for a week. Very generous amounts that would otherwise go to the landfill. This organization has adjusted well to the current COVID situation, keeping all clients safe and at a safe distance. Always professional volunteers. I'm grateful and happy to share my experience with others in need to feed their family. Thank you, Kimberly Taylor of Langley.
Great, thank you very much.
That is it.
Okay, does anybody have any questions or comments? Seeing Councillor Stortboom.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. Thank you, Jim, for your presentation. Jean, for your comments. I'm a proud supporter of the Langley Food Bank, always have been, and I support you in the community and personally as well. I'm proud of the work that you do, and I want to reflect back on when we went into this lockdown for COVID. One of the calls that I got at that time was from Jim. You said, are we an essential service? What are we? I mean, we've got to keep going. People need food. And I said, I don't know. We're still trying to work this out. And Jim said, well, I'm going to go for it because these people need me. And that's his heart for our community. It's a nonprofit. It's not intended to make money. It's been operating in our community for over 30 years. It helps hundreds of families every week by putting food on their table. It's an essential service that needs our support, especially at this time. So I'm happy to ask the balance of my colleagues on City Council to support this application. I know we used to have Sources Food Bank in our community, but they moved to the township right away. They asked for a permissive tax exemption, right away they got it. The Langley Food Bank established a satellite in Aldergrove. As soon as they were established, they applied for a permissive tax exemption from the township, and right away they got it. And still, our Langley Food Bank doing such wonderful work in our community after all of these years, having proven themselves again and again and again, is the only food bank in Metro Vancouver that doesn't have a permissive tax exemption. I think it's time to get with the program. It's the least we can do. Thank you very much.
Okay, thanks, Councillor Storterboom. You might want to reiterate that during debate and during the motion. It's more appropriate. Thank you, Mr. Helements, for coming in here and speaking today, and Ms. Moulton as well. We really appreciate it. So
it's our pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thanks. Okay, and under the amendment to the agenda, we had the Eureka Temple Society. We have Mr. Warren Skip Stewart on. Mr. Stewart, can you hear us?
Hello.
Hello.
Can you hear me?
Yes, please go ahead.
Good. My name's Warren Skip Stewart, and I'm the president of the Eureka Temple Society, which owns and manages the Eureka Masonic Hall building at 20701 Fraser Highway in the city. I wish to thank everyone for giving me this opportunity to speak to you today. I'm here to petition the city for a permissive tax grant to address the property assessment and crushing tax burden on our building. According to the review and determination by the assessment board that I was granted, we had a small reduction in our assessment, but they indicated that our property is being taxed at highest and best use due to the city's master plan, which places our building in a commercial zone. As a registered nonprofit society maintaining this community hall, we struggle to service this debt, which has doubled each year for the past 3 years. On May 22nd, I emailed documents laying out this proposal with support letters and a long 2-page diatribe, which I would hope that everyone has taken the time to read. It lays out the rationale for this grant. Upon reviewing the city's list of churches and civic groups and now the food bank, which are eligible for this grant, it was brought to my attention that most of these groups, with the exception of the churches, are placed in city-owned property. I assume the city's just forgiving the property tax on itself. As stated in the original application, our building is the longest in-use structure within the city since 1927. We have kept and maintained the property to represent a pleasant image for everyone's view of the property, as well as the pride the local Masons take with our property and the community in general. Once again, I would ask you to consider this tax relief grant for us.
Great, thank you very much for presenting, Mr. Stewart. Does anybody have any questions or comments? Councillor Storteboom.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you for your presentation. I appreciate your situation. I'm surprised at the increase in tax that you have suffered as a result of these appraised values from the BC Assessment Authority. I can't help but wonder if that might need to be reviewed and if possibly a different type of zoning might apply for your situation. I think there are some other options that you might consider. I am curious to know, though, with so many community leaders being members of the lodge for so many years, was a permissive tax exemption ever considered before? Was it ever brought to council for application?
Not to my knowledge. I was just elected president for this in January for this year, but speaking with people that have been presidents, there was not an official petition made that I know of, Councillor Storteboom.
Thank you for your reply. I'm surprised that Mayor Red Giesingwood, who was a member of your lodge, didn't consider bringing it to the membership for an application, but I guess we'll never know now as Mayor Red has passed on. Thank you again for your presentation.
The biggest tax increases have been in the last 3 years. The property taxes on our building have doubled in the last 3 years. In 1997, our assessment was 1.223 million. And in 17, it doubled from that, and 19, it doubled again to 45,000 for the assessment. And you know, the building has been used and maintained as a lodge hall and a community hall for all these years. My next step also is to petition the assessment board for a what's called a pre-roll, which I will be submitting that to them in the next week or so. But yeah, it's we're just pursuing all avenues at this time because we'd really like to stay in the building.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you for your reply. I've read your report and the correspondence that has come with it and the support that you have in the community. It's my understanding that the current tax year, the tax for the Eureka Lodge was just under $10,000. Is that right?
Just give me a moment, please.
Yeah, I have a printed version that was sent.
Okay.
I thought it came from you.
It probably did, yes. I've got a whole raft of documents here that
Okay, no, that's fine. I think, though, that there may be some other avenues of opportunity for you. I'm not sure if a permissive tax exemption is the way to go, but you can certainly contest the market value of the property when the tax assessment comes out at the beginning of January. You'll have until the end of January to dispute that valuation. So I look forward to staying in touch with you. We'll talk again. Thank you very much, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Storterboom. Okay, anyone else? Don't see anyone else. Well, thank you very much, Mr. Stewart, for coming and speaking to us.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and councillors all. I appreciate the time and the opportunity afforded me.
Thank you. Have a wonderful evening.
Okay, bye now.
Okay, moving on, we have upcoming meetings. Our next regular council meeting will be October 5th, 2020. The time and place is to be determined. The following regular council meeting after that will be October 19th, 2020. Time and place to be determined. There is a report later on in the agenda regarding the holding of our regular council meetings. So we're leaving the next meetings as to be determined until council considers the recommendations in this report. Okay, so we've removed 4B and we move on to Discover Langley City with Councillor Albrecht. I will turn it over to you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So Discover Langley City continues to work closely with key industry partners for information on how best to support Langley City tourism stakeholders as the COVID crisis continues to take its toll on the tourism industry. These organizations continue to lobby on behalf of industry that has been hit particularly hard by the crisis. As an industry, destination marketing organization asked elected officials to advocate for an industry that under normal circumstances generates in excess of $20 billion annually revenues provincially and $4.5 billion in tax receipts for all levels of government. This is a top business and industry in BC. So tourism and hospitality is the largest employer of youth, provides hundreds of thousands of jobs for women, Indigenous peoples, and other important members of society. The visitor economy is often the catalyst for community building, cultural shifts, sustainable development, and innovation, and has been one of the top contributors to the overall provincial economy for many years. A government investment in retaining and restoring the industry now will continue to pay dividends in the years ahead. This is a critical time. DLC continues to keep informed and improve their skills by attending webinars from the industry experts, including Destination BC, Tourism Industry Association, and various marketing agencies who offer current trends and advice. The marketing coordinator, as a student job, has turned out to be a great asset to the DLC programming and has been invited to stay on part-time. The skills and enthusiasm she has contributed are a great effort in marketing over the past few months, and Emma will be entering her second year of studies in marketing and communications at BCIT in September, and will divide her time between school and the organization. She's been a great asset. Stakeholder relations, continued communications with stakeholders has been integral part of summer programs. Staff make weekly visits to hotels and key locations to say hello, drop off material that they need, such as visitor guides, mural walk brochures, and maps. It's a great way to stay in touch and let them provide with the collateral and information they need. Staff did a push to sign up new stakeholders to grow our tourism community and was able to add 10 new signups. Tourist sentiment presentation. DLC was one of 20 communities who was given the opportunity to have a mini tourism sentiment study done by Destination Think. This is a program designed to help community DMOs understand their perception from consumers using technology and analytics that we don't normally have access to. They can analyze more than 500,000 different sources, including online media sites, forums, reviews, and social media networks. The brief analysis was able to identify our current strengths and opportunities and help us understand where we can focus our marketing efforts based on consumer sentiment. So the key takeaways were culinary features and outdoor activities are our current strengths, and there is opportunity available with health and wellness. Marketing, we had a couple of programs. One was the Langley Road Rally, and that was really well received, and it created a new experience that was a safe way to travel throughout the community, as well as a fun way to discover local treasures. This is a downloadable map and features an interactive map tied into Google that plots a route to parks, countryside, with unique stops along the way. And this is being promoted via both organizations on the website and social media opportunities. There is also an Epic Weekend Getaway Contest, and the contest consisted of prizes for an epic weekend in Langley City, and stakeholders donated prizes valued at over $900. I want to give a shout out to Best Western Langley, Newlands Golf and Country Club, Fast Track Indoor Karting, Coastal Coffee, Grand Thai, Olivio Pasta Bar, Farm Country Brewing, and DLBA. Our social media continues to gain interest and activity, and that's always a good thing. The consumer newsletter, the August newsletter shifted focus from the usual listings of events to a highlight of summer activities that were COVID friendly. These included experiences our partners offered, as well as promoting DLC own experience, such as the New Road Rally and Mural Walk. The DLBA summer programs, Pickup Picnics and Ain't It Grand were also featured, as well as images from our social media. These were really successful, and people really participated and got active in those particular areas. I think people were dying to do things, and this was a great opportunity. There's a portable visitor center, which hasn't really been able to be used to date, but it's there and ready. Video production, DLC is currently working on with Gibbons Creative to produce a video featuring the Langley City dining scene. A video will have the same cheeky tone as the previous attractions video. It is anticipated to be available probably in October after the AGM. Destination BC and the continued pursuit to have more Langley City assets and images be recognized by Destination BC. DLC was successful in having the mural walk filmed for their B-roll inventory. The DLC sent a film crew to Langley City to gather shots of couples walking around the downtown looking at murals. They also took still shots for their digital asset library, and they have used and feature stories. Destination BC also featured the mural walk on their Instagram page. This is a phenomenal accomplishment, as they have over 524,000 followers, and our feature has already been liked by over 2,600 people since it was posted. The media department regularly sends out requests for story ideas, and they turn into professionally written articles. And we had 2 successful submissions to be published about cycling in the city. And again, finally, the digital media, we still continue to work with a marketing firm to ensure content gets out to the widest possible audience. The company manages our Google grant, which provides up to $10,000 value per month in free ads. So again, the numbers keep adding up. They keep doing a great job. And I want to say that our team at the DLC and the DLBA have been doing a phenomenal job in promoting Langley City and offering residents and anyone in BC opportunities to fill in all this, let's say, available time that they normally would be doing in other locations or other activities. So that is my report. Thank you.
Great, thanks, Councillor Albrecht. There's some really great things happening there, which is why we initially, last council, wanted to separate from the township tourism. And it seems to be working out very well, so that's fantastic. Councillor Wallace.
Thank you, and thank you for your report, Councillor Albrecht. Just curious in regards to your stakeholders and the list of where that would be, if where we would find out, I think you said 9 or 10 new stakeholders. And just maybe just a tool or a resource for the city. Really interested in the destination think technology analytics, and how could that help us with our recreational programming and outreach of arts and culture as well, working alongside Discover Langley City in partnership. So thank you.
Through the mayor to Councillor Wallace. Most of the information regarding stakeholders and that kind of information is available on the website. And as far as the that statistical analysis, we were just starting to get a little bit of information from that company. I'm sure that we'll have a lot more detailed report in the coming months, or maybe even a month, I'm not sure. Right now, currently preparing for the AGM coming up next month. So they may be withholding some of that information until the AGM and trying to come out with a more robust release and analysis. Like I say, just a little bit down the line. But yeah, there's going to be some valuable information coming out of that analysis. And that was something that most companies would have to pay pretty big dollars in order to get that kind of an analysis available to us. So this was something that almost fell into our laps, and it was something that we were pretty proud that we were able to participate in. And I think it's going to be a great addition to not only Langley City, but it'll also help the township because we're all partners in the tourism business. So thank you.
Great, thank you. Anybody else for Councillor Albrecht? I don't see any. All right, well, thank you. Moving on, we have recreation update with Kim Hilton, our Director of Recreation, Culture and Community Services. Over to you.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'm just going to share my screen here. It might take a moment. If you can let me know when you see it, that would be great. And now it should be on. Is it?
It was on earlier.
It's wiggling around here for some reason. I may just have to give a verbal update if it's not going to work. Okay, it's gone. And so is my present. Oh, there we go. All right, can you hear me? Hello?
Yes. I can.
Oh, yes. Thank you. All right, so an update for Recreation, Culture, and Community Services. Unfortunately, you may not be able to see my screen, but we do have our Cookie Monster preschool, which is ages 3 to 5, and Cookie Monster did start in September. We do have a few spaces left in our 3-year-old program, and that runs on Tuesdays and Thursdays. This is a play-based program, and the Tuesday, Thursday morning class goes from 9 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. And then we have a combined 3- and 4-year-old class on Tuesdays and Thursdays, which runs 12:30 to 3. It's a great program. We just recently added some outdoor space and gardening activities. So the preschoolers have a great opportunity to go in and outside. Just want to remind people that we do have our indoor fitness classes running at Tim's Community Center. So we have spin and gentle fit, power yoga, boot camp, cardio combo, Zumba, and so on. Pre-registration is required, and we do need to register up to at least 24 hours in advance of the program. Our classes are increasing in capacity, and right now our maximum number is 20 people. So we're getting close to that with some of our classes. So if you're interested in participating, it's a great way to get in shape, have fun, see people, speak to people when you're physically distanced. and a great way to get active. So that's our indoor fitness classes at Tim's Community Center. We also have our weight room is open, and you can book your pre-book or pre-register for your 90-minute session. We have several slots throughout the day. We do have limited capacity again with our COVID protocols. And once again, we do require 24-hour advance notice that you're coming, so you have to register. You can do that online at langleycity.ca, or you can do it over the phone at 604-514-2940. Our youth programs continue at Douglas Park right through to Thanksgiving weekend. And we have something most days, Tuesdays through Saturdays. Taryn, our youth programmer, is out at Douglas Park under the Spirit Square and offering a wide variety of activities. Saturday nights, he does come into Tim's Community Center when the youth have the facility to themselves, and they have access to the gymnasium as well. And this is for youth in grades 6 to 12. We were approached by Langley School District to provide some beyond the bell after school care. You may recall in our childcare study, we did identify that after school, before and after school programs were of critical need. And so the school board reached out to us for 2 different schools currently. Ellis Brown School, which the after school program will run from 2:17 to 4:17. And then Douglas Park, right after school from 2:25 to 4:25. And that Douglas Park one will actually be happening at Douglas Recreation Center. So there still are some spaces available. You'll see on the presentation that the cost per day is $11.85, so that we can recover the cost of our staffing. And just a special note that we will not have programs on Prody days or non-instructional days during winter break and spring break or stat holidays. So if you're interested, you can phone 604-514-2865 to register. After the Thanksgiving long weekend, we will be moving some of our programs into the gymnasium, again, with our COVID protocols in place. So you have an opportunity to register in advance for pickleball, basketball, volleyball, badminton, and table tennis. With the exception of table tennis, all the other programs will be running at Tim's Community Center. Table tennis will be at Douglas Rec Center. And again, you can do this online at langleycity.ca or by phone at 604-514-2940. We want to remind everyone to stay safe, stay active, get outside, enjoy the great weather while you can, and then remember we do have programming inside for anyone who's interested. And that's my presentation for today.
Great, thank you, Ms. Hilton. That was, you and your staff are doing an amazing job during these challenging times. Kudos to you. And I've been hearing great things. People are really happy that they can go online and book. So yeah, really good things. Anybody else, any other comments or questions? Councillor Sturtevant, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, Kim, for another terrific update on the recreational services that you and your team are providing to the members of our community. I know these are unique times that we're living in, and you're making special arrangements for us all. I am curious to know if there's a possibility of opening up the walking track at some point in the future, if that's even being considered right now. I know it's a very popular recreation that a lot of people look forward to, and considering that the weather will be changing, I think there'll be a lot more people who would appreciate being able to use it. So any comments that you have around whether or not that walking track can be open, will be open in the near or distant future would be appreciated.
Thank you through Mayor Bell to Councillor Soderboom. We certainly are exploring how we might open up in a safe way the walking track. It does pose some challenges because there's a single entrance in and out. In the past, we haven't had to monitor it with a staff person. It may not be possible to do it without a staff person given our current situation. So then we have to consider what, you know, the fees associated with that. So we are working hard because we do recognize the value of the walking track. It's one of the better used facilities all day long here at Tim's Community Center. And with the weather changing, as you mentioned, it is a need. So we are looking at it, and hopefully we'll have some great plan to open up with soon.
Thank you very much. Stay safe.
Thank you. Great question, Councillor Sturtevant. Councillor Martin, go ahead. You're on mute.
What if we made masks mandatory on the walking track? Would that help?
That is certainly a consideration that we're thinking about for sure. That would assist in some ways. We also have to look at booking it. There's a number of different things, but we hope to bring something back to you by the next council meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Great, thank you. Ms. Tilton, I don't see anybody else. No, we're good. Thank you. Thank you for that report. Okay, going through, we are now at bylaws. Bylaw 3132, Highway and Traffic Regulation Bylaw Amendment. Final reading of a bylaw to amend the Highway and Traffic Regulation Bylaw. That the bylaw cited as Highway and Traffic Regulation Bylaw 2013, number 2871, Amendment Bylaw number 4, 2020, number 3132, be read a final time. I need a mover and a seconder. Councillor Bahal, Councillor Storterboom. Any discussion? Councillor Wallace.
Not allowed to speak on a final, are we?
What, did you want a question, or did you want to question staff?
Yeah, I did want to question just in regards to one of the policies, or the under the parking and stopping on page 32. No person shall occupy a vehicle as living quarters while it is parked upon any street or in any public place. My concern is that there are a few people that do that, and that is because they don't have a home to live in. They've had to resort to living in their car and vehicle. My concern is if they were approached and they were already under so much struggle, how would that be taken care of?
I believe it's complaint driven with the bylaw, but if we can get staff clarification on that, please.
Thank you, Worship, to Councillor Wallace. Yes, we base our guest compliance related to on a complaint basis. If someone complains, obviously we will go and enforce it. And also if they're creating some traffic safety issue, we would go and do an inspection. But it's a challenging issues to deal with, and we have to deal with it on a case-to-case basis. And we will look at, what provisions of any of our bylaws, whether it's traffic regulations bylaw, unsightly premises, and even zoning bylaw for that matters to try and address it. But obviously we will use our discretion, and it's going to be on a case-to-case basis. Thank you.
Okay. Did you have another question, Councillor Wallace, or just?
I just appreciate the case-to-case basis, right? Because, if we're dealing with a youth living in a car and there's a complaint, I'd hope that we'd be able to depend on some or reach out to some resources within the community. So I hope that we would go, and Mr. Chung has alluded to that would probably be case-to-case basis. So, I mean, it's just, yeah, safety's first, but looking after people is really important, and especially during these trying times of COVID. So thank you for the clarification.
Great, thank you. Anyone else? I do have a question for staff on clarification. I'm curious as to why there is no actual definition of thing, and whether we need to be more specific on that.
Yes, Madam Mayor, I can respond to that. That was on the basis of our legal advice. We did originally have a definition, but it is referred to in the, let me just find it here. It's in the community charter. So even though there isn't a definition within the community charter. It is referred to, and some details are noted within the community charter. So the recommendation was not to have a definition in the bylaw.
Okay, great. Thank you for the clarification. Councillor Paul.
Yeah, just for further clarification and to Councillor Wallace's point, this particular update that we're looking at for final reading was just about updating the bylaw for the definitions of thing and adding a fee for that. So there was the section about, to my understanding, about people living in a vehicle that's been in our bylaw for since before this discussion. And I just wanted clarity on that. If that, I don't know if
That's
Mr.
correct.
Bonhoff through, or Mr. Chung through the mayor.
Through to Mayor Vanderbroek to Councillor Call. Yes, that is correct. We are only dealing with in the bylaw related to the thing. The other provision about people staying at motorhomes on the streets are part of the traffic regulations bylaw from the past.
Okay, thank you for that clarity.
Okay, seeing no further questions, I'll call the vote. All those in favor? Any opposed? And that carries. Bylaw 3133, fees and charges bylaw amendment. Final reading of a bylaw to amend fees and charges for various services offered by the City of Langley, Highway and Traffic Regulation Bylaw. That the bylaw cited as fees and charges bylaw 2010, bylaw number 2837, amendment number 27, 2020, number 3133, be read a final time. Move her in a second. Councillor Storterboom, Councillor Bahal, any discussion on that? Okay, seeing none. All those in favor? Any opposed? Carries. Bylaw 3135, discharge of land use contract number 06-73. First and second reading of a bylaw to authorize the discharge of land use contract number 06-73 from the property located at 20324 49A Avenue. That the bylaw cited as the discharge of land use contract number 0673 bylaw 2020 number 3135 be read a first and second time. Mover and a seconder on that. Councillor Storterboom, Councillor Wallace, any discussion? Councillor Storterboom.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm just curious if staff could advise that we're seeing a number of these coming through. It's my understanding that there'll be an amnesty at the end of this year. I'm curious to know why we're still seeing these applications come through, considering that the discharge is going to be resolved very shortly, unless I'm mistaken or misunderstanding something. Oh, there's Mr. Johansson. Yes, sir.
Yes, through the mayor to Councillor Storterboom. Yes, with the new zoning bylaw that we're working on right now, when that's brought forward to council and council adopts the bylaw, then with that, we're going to discharge all the land use contracts in the city. Through the Local Government Act, they all need to be discharged by 2024. In the meantime, we do have a few coming forward, but that's in the interest of moving these applications ahead so these individual landowners can get suites into their homes, or in this case, they're looking to rebuild their house with a suite.
Just to follow up, thank you for your answer. I understand now. It's because their homeowner is looking to renovate in order to accommodate the process. They're making these applications at this time to be in compliance with our bylaw. Thank you very much.
That's correct. Yeah.
Okay. Councillor Martin.
I was just trying to move the motion. That's fine.
Okay, thank you. I'll lower your hand. Oh, yeah, thank you. Okay, call the vote. All those in favor? Any opposed? That carries. Moving on to bylaw 3136, permissive tax exemption bylaw. First, second, and third reading of a bylaw to exempt certain lands and improvements from municipal taxation for the year of 2021. And I understand Mr. Light would like to speak to this.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. That's correct. So in your agenda package, we've made one change on table today. Southgate Church was included in the appendix or in the Schedule A as a list of exempt properties. They've since vacated their property in Langley Mall. So we just made an adjustment because they're not under legislation, it's not available to them to have a property permissive tax exemption. So it's just been removed from Schedule A on the on-table bylaw that's in front of you. Just wanted to draw that to your attention.
Great, thank you very much. So under our council procedure bylaw, if we want to consider making amendments to a bylaw, we have to do it after second reading and before the third reading. So accordingly, as I intend to make an amendment to the bylaw, I will state the motion as follows: that the bylaw cited as the permissive tax exemption bylaw 2021, number 3136, be read a first and second time. Mover and a seconder on that. Councillor Storterboom. Councillor Wallace, any discussion? Call the vote. All those in favor? Any opposed? And that carries. So I would like to amend permissive tax exemption bylaw number 3136 to add the Langley Food Bank located at 5768 203rd Street to Schedule A, which lists the exempt properties for the calendar year 2021. Can I get a seconder to that amendment, please? Councillor Wallace. Okay, any discussion on that? Councillor Storterboom, go ahead. Oh, you're muted.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. You're referring to the Langley Food Bank application? Okay, thank you very much. I just wanted to be sure of that. And I should mention too that it is specific to their storefront distribution site, not their warehouse. Is that correct?
That is correct. I'll just get staff to confirm that.
Yes,
Mr.
that is correct. That is correct. There is only one location that they've requested, which is the property on 203rd Street.
Thank you very much for that clarification.
Great, thank you. Okay, any other further discussion on that? Okay, and oh, Councillor Albrecht, go ahead, and then Councillor Paul.
Yeah, I guess I'm wondering why we're not considering the Langley Memorial Hospital inclusion or the Eureka Temple. Why are we just picking and choosing here? I don't necessarily agree with this. I'm having some difficulty with this challenging. I have no doubt that the food bank provides a great service and value to the community, and the pandemic has created enormous stress on everybody, including ourselves. So I think this is going to be a problem by just selecting one of the four valid candidates that have put forward an ask. So I don't think I can vote in favor of such a amendment, not so narrow an amendment anyway.
Yep, you're more than welcome to pull the other ones and do an amendment for each of those as well. Okay, Councillor Pahal.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And I'm not going to support this amendment to the permissive tax bylaw, but I want to give you some reasoning behind that, because the food bank is doing a great job in our community, and clearly there is a lot of community support for them as well. And I think the vehicle that we should be using for this, especially given the COVID times and given that we have funding available, would be to ask them to apply through our community grant program. Considering that this is about COVID and the extremely hard times that are going on. When we look at our permissive tax exemption program, we don't have a policy as a council. So if you've looked at it, and I've looked at it since the 90s, it's really been ad hoc. So I don't know which organization gets it, which one doesn't, which makes it really difficult, because why don't we give it to the Big Brothers and Sisters, which has an office in downtown Langley, or any of the other great organizations that serve our community very well. So when I look at the ones that we've given, so we have the ones that are on city land, and that one really makes sense to me. So we have the Seniors Resource Center, Stepping Stones, Seniors Bowling, Community Service Society, and the Salvation Army. So that's on city land. We wouldn't want to tax ourselves, basically, because we're leasing it to them. And Mr. Light, you can correct me if I'm wrong. It's like one of those dollar type lease situations. Is that correct?
Yeah, we don't tax ourselves basically through that.
Yeah, so that one I understand the rationale behind. And then I look at the Global School Society, Langley Care Society, Hospice, and Inclusion. So I understand the reasoning before the Langley Care Society, because they were in a situation where they were going to actually end up increasing their budget through no fault of their own. So the city acted to make sure that they weren't being punished. So I also see that was the place, I think, for Inclusion Langley as well. I'm not sure why the Global School Society or the Hospice were granted a permissive tax exemption. So I think of those as grandfathered. So I would not want to remove those because I believe they rely on that for their income. We get many, many requests every year for permissive tax exemptions. And if we look at this year, the request is $84,000 a year. And we're struggling as well as a municipality, and we made a tough call to lower our property tax. So if we grant this permissive tax exemption, we'd be looking at a 0.3% tax increase next year to accommodate that. And I know we fought for every $1,000 this year through the budget. So to put that in perspective, that would mean we wouldn't be doing playground maintenance, or we wouldn't be looking at enhancing the mowing on our trail system. So this is, I think maybe some folks don't realize that as a local government, we have to raise all that revenue. We're not the provincial government, we're not the federal government. We just can't make money appear. So when we grant a permissive tax exemption, it's not free money. That comes from taxpayers. And like I said, I think for the food bank, I would 100% support a grant application they made to ensure that they have a successful program through this COVID times. And I know this council has supported the Langley Food Bank through the, did I say that wrong? The community grant program, sorry. I'll support them through the community grant program. They have been supported over the years through the community grant program as well. As far as the temple, I know they made a comment today as well. I've seen examples where like the Elks and the Legion have actually worked with partners to redevelop their properties where they're able to put a hall in place and maybe retail and mixed use. And maybe that's something that as a city, we could reach out to them and see if there's any exciting opportunities to redevelop for SkyTrain while maintaining that hall component. So I just wanted to give an explanation of where I stand. And if council did decide to grant permissive tax exemptions going forward, I'd really like to have a policy, because right now I think it would be ad hoc. So thank you, Madam Mayor, for letting me speak for like 5 minutes.
Thank you, Councillor Bahal. Who was next? Councillor Storterboom.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you, Councillors Albrecht and Pahal, for your comments. Councillor Pahal commented that it might be satisfactory to make application for community grant, and the Langley Food Bank has done that in the past for things like freezers and special equipment. But unfortunately, because of the pandemic, the funds available for the community grant program are likely to be significantly insufficient to offset the value of a property tax exemption. I have to say that this is an essential service. It's not a clubhouse. It's not a residence. This is something that our residents in the city of Langley benefit from every week. And that this is the only food bank in all of Metro Vancouver that does not have a permissive tax exemption. Again, it's an essential service, and now that Southgate Church is no longer making application, I would sincerely appreciate if the Langley Food Bank could slide into that slot. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Storterboom. Those were my exact sentiments. Councillor Wallace, did you have your hand up?
I don't need to repeat the words coming out of Rudy Storterboom's Well, I appreciate what Nathan Pahal has said in regards to looking at a policy. I think we need to do that for sure. But right now during COVID, it's the emergency of looking after people. And, you know, we received several letters. We watched the video. These are, you know, single mom with kids trying to make it, people just trying to, you know, vulnerable people trying to make it. I just see the lives, you know, the amount of more than just feeding people that the food bank is doing. And the opportunities of what I really, really appreciate about this food bank, it's not about just handing out. It's about making these people feel like they're wanted, they're needed, and they're capable. And that's what happens at this food bank. They go back there and they volunteer their time and they give value, they give back. And I think that's what we need to be looking at in moving forward. So I am definitely in favor of this.
Great, thank you. Councillor James. You're muted.
Had to figure it out. So I'm listening to everything. Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm listening to everything that everyone is saying, and I absolutely 100% agree with everything that everyone is saying. So my challenge this year is that we had 4 individual organizations ask, and I don't know enough about each organization to make an educated guess on who we should pick and choose and who we should not. So for me this year, it's not that I don't support each and every one of these organizations that have asked for it. It's just that I can't, in all good consciousness, select one organization that deserves it more. And trust me, I know the Langley Food Bank. I've met Jim personally. I think they do amazing things. Again, penny pinchers being in the downtown. I've talked to the hospital auxiliary hundreds of times over the years, but this is just too tough a decision for me to make this evening. So I'm not going to support it simply because I feel like I need more time to do some research. And in all fairness, I don't know how to say yes to 1 and no to 3. I just, this one always leaves me feeling really uncomfortable, to be honest with you guys. So I just can't support that this evening. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing. Councillor Martin.
You're on mute, Councillor Martin.
I too agree with everything that has been said. You know, COVID has been mentioned several times. I think the city's in the same situation as a lot of organizations because of COVID. We're spending a lot more money too, and we lowered our taxes. I think that we need to look at our permissive tax bylaw again. And again, I agree with what Councillor James said. How can you pick one over the other? I guess the one that does the most lobbying gets the grant. And somehow I don't think that seems fair. I support all of these organizations. And as Councillor Sturdivant mentioned, we have supported the food bank with community grants. And albeit that they might be lower this year, but that's the whole problem. It's not just the food bank that's in, it's everybody that is suffering through COVID. So I will not be supporting this motion, and I will look forward to a time when council can sit down and discuss the tax exemptions and maybe look at doing some changes there so that we can fairly distribute the tax exemptions to our community. Thank you.
Great, thanks for your comments. I will say that I look at this as an essential service, and the numbers have gone up by hundreds. More and more people are going to be losing their homes and their jobs due to COVID. This doesn't even compare to the other ones as far as I'm concerned. It's an essential service. It's keeping people fed and alive. And I think we should be doing our part to that. And as Councillor Sturdivant stated, I agree exactly with what you said, Councillor Sturdivant and Councillor Wallace, and that's all I'm going to say to it. Councillor Pahal, go ahead.
Thank you. And just to be clear, I support the work they're doing and the important work of making sure that people have food on the table. And I know we have money available in the community grant fund still. And that's where I would encourage them to look at. And I know that we have different intakes, and we're in COVID times, which is special circumstances. I'm not going to put anyone on the spot, but I know we've received grants at all different times of the year. So if there's a need for this community, again, I know this is a thing that all of council would have to look at. I would have no problem looking at a grant application from the Langley Food Bank, but not for the permissive tax exemption, unfortunately, for me.
Great, thank you. Yeah, I just like to say that we're one of the only cities that doesn't grant it. And we were just at a UBCM conference with Margaret Atwood doing a presentation, who stated that we should be supporting, as municipal governments, supporting our food banks during this time, because we've never been through, this is worse than wartime. And we need to take care of our citizens. And I believe this is one way to do that. So does anybody else have anything else to say? Any other comments? Seeing none, I will call the vote on the amendment. All those in favor? And opposed? So 1, 2, 3, 4, that's defeated. All right. So we go on then to that the bylaw cited as the permissive tax exemption bylaw 2021, number 3136, be read a third time. Mover and a seconder on that. All those in favor? Councillor Paul, did you have a question? You're just, okay. Sorry, lots going on there. Okay. Call the vote. All those in favor for the third reading? Any opposed? That carries. Bylaw 3137, chauffeur permit and regulation bylaw, repeal bylaw. First, second, and third reading of a bylaw to repeal the chauffeur permit and regulation bylaw. That the bylaw cited as the chauffeur permit and regulation bylaw 2016, number 3002, repeal bylaw number 3137, be read a first, second, and third time. Need a mover and a seconder. Councillor Storteboom, Councillor Albrecht. Any discussion on that? Councillor Albrecht, go ahead, and then Councillor Storteboom.
If I'm not mistaken, I'll just see if we can get staff to clarify. This is strictly a housekeeping item.
Through the chair to Councillor Albrecht, yes. The province took over sole authority to regulate these types of chauffeur permits, and so we can no longer do that, so we're repealing this bylaw. That's the purpose of it.
Great, thanks for that clarification. Councillor Storteboom.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you, Ms. Kenny. I was basically asking the same question as Councillor Albrecht, in that City Council no longer has to endure those meetings for the review of the chauffeur licensing. I found those to be especially difficult. Is that correct?
Yes, with respect to appealing a decision, no, the council does not have the authority any longer for that.
That's a relief. Thank you very much for that clarification.
Great, thanks. Anybody else? Okay, call the vote. All those in favor? Any opposed? See none, that carries. Bylaw 3138, Municipal Ticket Information System Bylaw. First, second, and third reading of a bylaw to amend fees in the Municipal Ticket Information System. That the bylaw cited as the Municipal Ticket Information System Bylaw 2846, Amendment number 15, 2020, number 3138, be read a first, second, and third time. I need a mover and a seconder. Councillor Storteboom. Anybody else? A seconder on that? Councillor Albrecht, thank you. Any discussion? Call the vote. All those in favor? Oh, did you want to talk to that, Councillor Storteboom?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I was just curious for a little bit of clarification. So this is about cleaning up the streets, getting rid of cars that are uninsured, that might be sitting on public property like sidewalks and roadways. And that is the intention of this bylaw update. Please.
Through the chair to Councillor Storteboom. Actually, no, it is part and parcel of repealing the chauffeur permit bylaw, because there is a schedule of fines related to non-compliance with the chauffeur permit bylaw. So because we're repealing the chauffeur permit bylaw, we need to repeal that section of the MTI bylaw to remove those fines.
Thank you very much for that clarification. I should have recognized that it went hand in hand with 3137, so please excuse me. Thank you for that clarification, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Okay, I will finish calling the vote then. All those in favor, any opposed? That carries. Okay, on to administrative reports, holding of council meetings, committee task group meetings, and public hearings during COVID-19 pandemic. That the following resolution passed by council at the April 27, 2020 regular council meeting be repealed, that as permitted under ministerial order number M083, open meetings of council be held in the absence of the public until such time as the provincial declaration of state of emergency has been lifted. 2, that the following resolution passed at the May 22nd, 2020 regular council meeting be amended to replace M139 with M192. That public hearings be held electronically as required, as authorized under ministerial order M139 and in accordance with section 4653 of the Local Government Act. 3, that staff be directed to action the recommendations outlined in the report of the corporate officer dated September 18th, 2020, with respect to the holding of council meetings, committee task group meetings, and public hearings by electronic means during the COVID-19 pandemic to comply with ministerial order M192. A mover and a seconder on that, or any discussion? Councillor Pahal, Councillor Storteboom, any discussion on that? Councillor Martin.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I read with interest the report that we received, and also the email that was sent out last week by Ms. Cusack asking for opinions. I was under the understanding that 4 council members said that they wanted in-person public meetings. But I guess some of the concerns that I have in regards to these recommendations, I don't understand why we can't hold our regular council meetings in person at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I believe council can enter through the back door where we have done in the past. I'm not sure that the public really need to be have their hand held to walk into council chambers. All the stores that we go into now have little arrows directing people where to go. We don't have a staff person, again, taking their arm and guiding them around the store. And I guess one of the big concerns that I have is the cost of technology to permit the combined in-person electronic participation at a cost of $10,000 to $20,000. Now, also the report says that if we meet in public, we're going to have to pay $600 for overtime for 2 staff and perhaps $230 for someone at the front desk. Well, if you take $20,000 by $600 for the overtime, that would cover 33 council meetings. And I don't think that we're going to be in this COVID situation for another 33 meetings. So I don't see spending the $20,000. I think that we can meet at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Then we can have our closed meetings or working sessions afterwards. If there is a public hearing or delegations, again, I think that can be handled in the way that if a delegation wants to appear, they can come into the council chambers. If there's more than 5 people sitting in the gallery, we could ask somebody to leave until we can get the total down to 6. They could also be told that if they want to do a delegation, that they just come by themselves, that no other person appears with them because of the COVID restrictions. We can have people wait in the CKF room, social distance. I mean, our council chambers, unless there's an incredible wave of the public against something, we never get more than 5 or 6 people in our audience. So I don't see spending the money on this technology. I think that we can do it. Our in-person meetings at 3 in the afternoon, what's the difference between meeting in person or on Zoom at 3 in the afternoon? And everything else can be handled around it. So I'm certainly not in favor of the fourth part of the motion. The first 3 is fine, but even the third one I think has got something to do with electronics. So I'm just putting it out there. I think that we can do it in person at 3 in the afternoon and still abide by the COVID restrictions instead of spending $20,000 on technology that within 6 months we won't need it. Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Pahal.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And I am supportive of the staff recommendations, which is the three of them that they've presented here. And I think the reason why is we're just starting the second wave of COVID. And I think if you look at what's been coming out from Public Health Canada, we're in for a very difficult fall, I think. As far as meeting in person, and I think to the point in the report, I know for me, I felt very uncomfortable because it's COVID times. Also, it was really hard to hear people, and the collaboration was really difficult. So for me, it's easier to hear people and understand them here in this format. I think it's more accessible because people are able to listen to these meetings at their leisure. If we go back to in-person at 3 o'clock, I think the reason we had council meetings at 7 p.m. was that people could generally get off work and attend these meetings in person. And I think the spirit of the legislation is to enable the public to view these meetings. So for me, if we have our public meetings at 3 p.m., I don't think we're doing anything to support working people from attending these meetings. And then I look at when we have public hearings, and there's going to be a lot of issues we're going to be dealing with the OCP update, the zoning update. I know people have very strong opinions on them, which is really great, and I look forward to hearing them. I couldn't be in the situation where we boot out 15 people because we're at our limit. I think we need to give people that opportunity to have their voices be heard on that night. And I think what's also really important is that people need to hear it in real time, because when you're in that kind of public hearing setting, like the whole thing I think is to see everyone there and for everyone to hear what's going on in real time. So I think right now the electronic format actually facilitates that better. I do look forward to meeting back in person when we can, but I think right now this is the way that we can provide the most accessible access to council, especially knowing that we're going to be hitting that second wave, and I think Ontario's hitting that second wave right now. As far as any costs, just to Mr. Light, would that come to council for a discussion? Because I would assume we'd need to amend the budget. Maybe I'll go through the mayor to Mr. Light. You're on mute.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, through to Councillor Pahal. We already have a budget. In our budget, currently we have $25,000 for council,
Okay.
the council chambers updates. So we do have money available at this point.
And in the future with this, if I may, Madam Mayor, through to Mr. Light, in the future it would enable us to do electronic public hearings in the future if we wanted to as well, or people could listen online. Is that the idea?
That's correct.
Okay, so it's not necessarily throwing away money, because that would be a bad thing to do.
We could live stream directly through to the public.
So that would make our meetings more accessible even once we get through COVID for people to listen in and participate.
That's correct.
I mean, given the legislative framework of the local government or whatever ministerial orders, right? So, okay, thank you. I think that answers my questions. Thank you, Madam Mayor. again.
Great, thank you. Now, Councillor Storteboom, did you have your hand up before?
Yes, please.
Okay, you're next, and then Councillor Wallace.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. And I agree with Councillor Pahal's comments. I feel much safer by using the technology. These Zoom meetings are something that we have become familiar with. I believe that the quality of the sound and the video is improved over time. And I feel much more comfortable with them now than I did at the beginning. I too would prefer to have in-person meetings, but honestly, I feel distracted by all of the special precautions that need to be taken, and it takes away from my attention of the agenda at hand. I would prefer to be able to address these issues on Zoom, and I would look forward to including the general public in more of our meetings, so the technology could be available for them to attend, and we could actually have more people attend electronically than we could in person during these times. I agree that this pandemic is coming back strong, and we need to be especially vigilant as responsible examples in our community. I think that we have to be especially careful moving forward, and I would prefer to go with the staff recommendations that are brought forward, because I think they're well thought through and they're appropriate for this unusual circumstance we find ourselves in. Thank you very much.
Great, thanks, Councillor Storteboom. I have Councillor Wallace and then Councillor James.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I feel really mixed about this, and to be honest with Council, I'm going to tell you that I feel so disconnected already with the road that we've been on as a council, and I feel that this was an opportunity, if we could have done it safely, coming together and being able to be together in person. I felt that was a step in the right direction. I know that COVID has emerged again, and we're most likely in our second wave, and we do have to be safe. I love the idea of being inclusive and adding technology that more of the public could take part. But you know, we don't have to do a public hearing in chambers, do we? Can we not? We have a full-size gym. That is that not a possibility to do a public hearing? I think we need to look at other ways of connecting community. And I don't know how long we're in it with COVID. I don't think none of us know, but it's not going to be an overnight. Some people say we're just beginning. But I'm really mixed about this, because I'm feeling so disconnected with this council that I think we need to find ways to be more connected.
Thank you, Councillor Wallace. Councillor James.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So, yeah, I actually was one of the councillors that suggested that we meet in person at 3 or 7. I was fine with either. Knowing that we're meeting right now at 3 o'clock and people can watch later, I'm finding that anyone who wants to watch is watching later, or they never came to watch in the first place at 7 o'clock, so they were watching it online the next day. So that for me was indicative enough that I thought we could make a go of continuing to meet in person, simply because I thought staff was incredibly diligent in organizing the way that we met. And yes, there was one person in the audience, which is not unusual, but they took care of everything. And yes, it was difficult to hear, but only for certain portions of the meeting when we weren't miking. So I guess I'm a little disappointed that we're not moving forward with, to Councillor Wallace's point, to seeing more of each other and looking into each other's eyes kind of a thing, because that is, I think, what I'm missing as well. But at the end of the day, I'm going to support staff recommendation, because they are the ones that are having to think about every single possible step that has to be taken in order to make City Hall safe. And am I disappointed? 100% I am, because I was so excited about an in-person meeting. And I guess I'm just, yeah, in second wave, I understand that, and I respect it, and I too, you know, have staff and the whole bit, and I understand how important it is to carry on with diligence. But I'm super disappointed, because I actually saw this as the next maybe potential step in at least us coming together, and possibly people in the community as well. So I'm going to vote in favor simply because it is a staff recommendation and I have nothing but respect for our staff, but I'm super disappointed that it didn't work out.
Great, thanks, Councillor James. Councillor Albrecht, is that?
Yep. Yeah. Thank you, Madam Mayor. And yeah, I want to echo both Councillor Wallace and Councillor James' disappointment and the feeling of disconnect, and Councillor Martin as well. I think it's invaluable to meet and see eye to eye. I think it's really important to, I don't know, have that interaction that is hard to describe. You know, the body language, the reactions, the just that face-to-face contact is really vital. And the same thing with the public hearing. There's nothing more powerful than looking at people in an audience that is not very far away and getting that emotion, that passion for a particular item. We've got a number of difficult things in the near future, and I don't for 1 minute enjoy the idea of not being able to meet face to face like we should be to deal with some of the challenging issues that we're going to be facing. But at the same time, I want to respect even the most concerned member of council, you know, for public safety and public health and their health and staff health. So we have to be mindful of you know, the let's say the one person that or the one situation that that requires that respect in terms of their health or their family's health or their close bubble health, that we need to do that. So reluctantly, I'm gonna support the staff recommendations. I'd like to have a clear understanding that as soon as possible that we can meet, or if a particular item, topic, or issue needs face-to-face communication, that we get that type of meeting as careful as we can. But there are going to be some things that come up in the next little while that we will need to meet, and I think we're going to have to try to make those things happen. I know it's going to be challenging, but yeah. So I'll support the staff recommendation, and I think we need to be mindful of everybody. Thank you.
Great, thanks. Yeah, those are some excellent points for sure. I actually find Zoom better because I can see you guys. I find when I'm in regular council chambers, I'm just looking ahead to the audience into no man's land. So that's kind of my personal opinion. I find this is actually better because I can see people and read people, whereas they're usually beside me and I can't see them. So that's just a personal opinion, and I agree with staff recommendations. So Councillor Martin, did you have?
Thank you. Well, unlike you, the only person I can see is the person that's talking. So that's why I like this personal connection with an open public meetings. I'm just wondering now, since the comments that have been made, especially by Councillor Wallace in regards to the gymnasium and public hearings, if they've might have any further thought on what we could do. I know that we are meeting in person next Monday, I believe, and if there might be some more discussion at that time in regards to what might be able to be done.
Madam Mayor, through to Councillor Martins. In terms of having public hearing at the gymnasium, we have looked at that very carefully, and because that was one of the things that we try to attempt to offer that public consultation process and hearing process for council and the public. The challenge with the gymnasium are both in terms of audio and visual, because it's not set up like in the CKF room or the council chamber where the audio visual system in place. And even if we do have the audio visual systems, the sound itself, it echoes within the gymnasium because there's no buffering in the gymnasium. And to the public, if we're going to have public hearing on Monday night, that means that we will have to cancel all the programming in the gymnasium from, say, if it was 3 o'clock to whenever, that will be canceled, or from 7 o'clock onwards to be canceled. So that's why we sort of moved away from considering having a public hearing within the gymnasium. We will, and before I go on, I just want to thank Miss Kelly Kenny and Paula Cusack and Matthew Jose. They have done a tremendous amount of work researching, implementing, and considering all options available in order for the city and council members to hold this type of virtual meeting and to be as accessible and accountable and transparent as much as possible. We have had many discussions, about how we're going to go about having this type of meeting, not dissimilar to what council has gone through just now. What we will do is we will look at each type of meetings on a case-by-case basis, where it's safe for both council members and staff and the public. We will consider perhaps one type of meetings, virtual, or if it's safe for staff and council to meet separately, for a planning session. I know we're planning on having a planning session next week. Perhaps that could be an in-person type of discussion between council and staff. So we'll have to look at it and have a discussion among staff and then make that type of proposal to council. So it's not going to be one size fits all. And that's why we kept the next 2 council meetings in terms of the place and the time to be determined for those very reasons, because we're still working through a lot of issues, both technological issues and logistic issues, so that when we do have a meeting, whatever that may be, that everybody is safe. So just want to leave it at that.
Great, thank you. Councillor Sturgeon?
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you, Mr. Chung, for your comments. I concur. I really appreciate staff's special effort during this unique time to accommodate us and the democratic process. I do believe, though, that this type of format is the future, and that the pandemic has pushed us forward into the future sooner rather than later. So we will be looking at this Brady Bunch Hollywood Squares format for a long time to come. And it's just a matter of becoming familiar with the product and getting your settings right to be sure that you're more comfortable with it. I am learning, and I have learned, and I continue to grow through it. Thank you very much for your comments. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Great. Okay, thank you. Any other discussion on that? That was great discussion, folks. Okay, I'll call the vote. All those in favor? Any opposed? Seeing none opposed, that carries. Okay, on to new and unfinished business. Motions and notices of motions. Nothing. Okay, correspondence. We received 3 items of correspondence. First one was the Ambulance Paramedics of BC QP 873 to advocate for enhanced paramedic services and healthcare in our community. Second communication was Council of Senior Citizens Organizations, COSCO. October 1st, 2020 is the UN International Day of Older Persons. And the third item was a letter from the City of New Westminster, support for universal access to no-cost prescription contraception. So what is council's wishes? Are we going to just receive correspondence for information? Councillor James? Yep. I'm a mover, seconder for that. Councillor Wallace, any discussion on those letters? None, call the vote. All those in favor of receiving? Any opposed? Good, okay. All right, on to new business. Motion to hold a closed meeting, that the council meeting immediately following this meeting be closed to the public as the subject matter being considered relates to items which comply with the following closed meeting criteria specified in section 90 of the community charter. 1, a part of the meeting may be closed to the public if the subject matter being considered relates to or is one or more of the following. E, the acquisition, disposition, or expropriation of land or improvements, if the council considers that disclosure could reasonably be expected to harm the interests of the municipality. I need a mover and a seconder on that. Councillor Stortaboom, Councillor James, any discussion? None, call a vote. All those in favor? Any opposed? Carries. Motion that the meeting adjourn. I need a mover and a seconder, please. Councillor Pahal, Councillor Wallace. All those in favor? Any opposed? That carries. Perfect. So, Kelly, if we can stop recording, please.